The new Pope Francis has only been in office since 2013, but has laid much groundwork for the prophesied one, world religion. Many Christians, including Catholics, have a vague feeling, suspicion, or some concerns about the new Pope. Is he the prophesied false prophet? How much more time until his facade tears down? Recently, Pope Francis has signed a document with leaders of other religions about there being one world religion. I know it is hard for some people to wrap their head around the fact that the Pope, the supposed vicar or substitute of Christ on earth, would be one of the individuals who would propagate the false idea that all religions lead to God. Yet that is exactly what he does. He has also held numerous meetings with representatives of other faiths. In their attendance, he claimed to see a tangible sign of the will to grow in mutual esteem and cooperation for the common good of humanity. Believe it or not, the world is moving toward a one-world religion and toward the false prophet described in Revelation 13. Jesus said in Matthew 24, "For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible."
Get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you do what we're supposed to do.
During the tumult of 2022-2023, the spotlight shifted onto Amy Grant once more, as she announced plans to host a same-sex wedding on her family's farm for her niece, alongside her husband, Vince Gill.
The scale of destruction here and in so many other villages along Gaza's border with Israel is complete. Every house is gutted.
Conflict has dominated the headlines, including a still unfolding war in the Middle East. Less than 3 months ago, Hamas militants attacked southern Israel in a surprise, multi-pronged, and bloody invasion. Nearly 1,200 Israelis were killed, and another 240 were taken hostage. Respiratory problems from a different source impacted much of the U.S. and Canada this year. Smoke from massive wildfires burning in Canada shrouded large parts of the U.S. in a dangerous haze for days. The Canadian blazes were the worst on record, touching every province and burning an area the size of North Dakota. A fast-moving wildfire on the Greek island of Rhodes led to a frantic mass evacuation of tourists. And on the Hawaiian island of Maui, a weather chain reaction. An offshore hurricane sent high winds across the drought-stricken island, fueling intense and rapidly spreading fires. Israeli retaliation was swift and relentless. An air assault followed weeks later by a ground invasion, beginning in northern Gaza and then marching south. Massive earthquake hit Turkey and Syria, toppling thousands of buildings across the 140,000 square mile quake. In Morocco, a similar story on a smaller scale, where a giant quake in September killed nearly 3,000 people and brought down entire villages. From quakes to mass flooding, Libya was inundated by a fast-moving torrential rainstorm that led to the collapse of 2 dams. 4,000 people died, and much of the city of Derna was destroyed in the worst floods Libya has seen in a century. And as a year of natural disasters closes out, after weeks of intense quake activity in Iceland, a volcanic eruption arrived just before Christmas. Everyone who lives in the nearby town of Grindavik was evacuated weeks ago in anticipation. After 3 years of a global pandemic, a momentous milestone.
I declare COVID-19 over as a global health emergency.
From a ballroom dance hall in California to a mall shooting in Texas to a private Christian school in Nashville and a lockdown in the city of Lewiston, Maine, as authorities hunted the killer. The U.S. has seen more than 600 mass shootings where 4 or more people are shot or killed in 2023 alone. In Memphis, a reminder of a different problem: police brutality. Officer body cam footage showed multiple officers beating 29-year-old Tyree Nichols to death. The Justice Department charged 5 officers with federal crimes.
I think AI is one of the most important things to be talking about.
You should probably run.
Section up.
Ice cream so good.
Twitter is now X.
Some are even calling it the Twitter killer.
The dense haze spreading from New England to Washington, D.C.
Witness the blood moon's rise.
The fires are one of the worst natural disasters in Hawaii's history. The death toll stands at 115 people.
This was my home.
3 protesters are under arrest for interrupting the action.
We have to act.
Southern California is under its first ever tropical storm watch.
A once-in-a-century deadly deluge slamming Hong Kong.
The COP28 team did not deny using climate meetings to discuss fossil fuel deals.
This is really like a fox guarding the hen house moment.
Frankly, most companies who have set a net zero target don't know how they're going to get there.
A group of orcas appear to be attacking and even sinking some boats.
Racing against time to find that missing submersible.
The U.S. linked the balloon to a vast Chinese military surveillance program.
Oh, they hit it!
Jubilee flames and plumes of smoke lit up the sky in East Ohio after a train derailed.
Priests can now bless same-sex couples.
6 justices ruled that certain businesses can refuse to serve gay people.
Got some Bud Lights for us.
Says he's now an ex-evangelical, deconstructing and progressing. And depending on the site, we'll see a few different headlines. This one adds that he now believes in the universal Christ. And this last one is a bit misleading because it says he's renounced his faith, but that's not true. He's just changed his Christian beliefs, but unfortunately, not in a good way.
Officers working as church security, one with Houston Police, the other an ATF agent, they returned fire.
She entered the building. She was armed with a long rifle and a trench coat with a backpack, accompanied by a small child, approximately 4 to 5 years old. Once she entered, at some point she began to fire. Both officers, the officer and agent, engaged, striking the female. She's deceased here on the scene. Unfortunately, a 5-year-old kid was hit and is at critical condition.
We don't understand why these things happen, but we know God's in control, and we're going to pray for that little 5-year-old boy and pray for the lady that was deceased.
Joe Biden is vowing to stand by and support Israel, stating that our ally has a right to defend itself.
Searing reminder, this Texas firefight is far from over. On the ground, crews meeting flames head on to save the small town of Sanford, while up above, choppers and planes targeted the fire's edge.
Authorities have already evacuated the town. Today was a red flag day, meaning hotter temperatures, higher winds. This is what happens when those conditions are prime.
As crews fight on, the largest fire in state history remains only 15% contained. The Smokehouse Creek fire torching more than 1 million acres, hundreds of homes, and leaving at least 2 people dead.
Found that in 2021, the average day is 0.05 milliseconds less than this. That's because the Earth is literally speeding up.